Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. It's the Apple iPhone 16 Pro Max. And yes, we are having a bit of fun with the title. And I understand it's not going to be quite vaporware, but the idea is still there. It's not exactly companies in the 90s saying they have X amount of features that they're going to come out with and these fantastic products and then just disappearing into the ether. However, it is interesting that a company like Apple will sell a product so heavily on a feature not available at launch. Everything was about Apple Intelligence. That entire presentation was about Apple Intelligence, the different features of it. And to not have that right at launch is a very, very, very odd decision. And the thing about it is, like the Apple Vision Pro, will it release? Pretty confident, that we're going to get Apple Intelligence at some point on these devices. But how will they run? You're going to have a phone with brand new features that we really haven't had a chance to test in depth and know if the implementation is done well. And I think it's just a dangerous precedent. And to think about this, for Google to have more AI stuff available and for more of the stuff in their presentation available on launch than Apple is very bizarre. And if you think about this, it kind of legitimizes, during crypto, you could see kind of, snake oil salesman a mile away. You hear the pitch and you think, oh, that's just nonsense. It's going to be a money waster. When Apple and Google are doing things like this, it invites other companies to piggyback off of those features and sell us on apps and features and products and stuff that are down the line that are based on these things that might not show up or they might not work that well. So it's really disappointing for me for Apple to sit there for an hour and a half or however long that awful presentation was and sell us on Apple Intelligence. You had that ridiculous Twitter video the other day of the people at the launch like chanting AI, not to have it on the phones at launch. Big miss, very disappointing, very un-Apple-esque. And there's a couple things in this phone. This is initial thoughts and impressions, by the way. Very brief because there's not a lot to this thing right now. But there are a couple things on here I noticed that are very un-Apple-esque as well. And I think it's a hint of things to come from the company. So let's talk about it. Desert Titanium. Like it more than I thought. When we got those renders over the summer, it was like that darker brown that was going to be a non-starter. But this is actually a light cream. It's almost like the gold one that they had that they discontinued, but more like a beigey gold. So it's okay. It's an okay. I wish we would have the aquamarine or that teal or all those fun colors that they had on the iPhone 16. But this is a nice light color. It's unoffensive. It'll be fine for the Pro Max version. I want to talk first about the size change on this device because a lot of people talked about how 6.8 inches to 6.9 inches, not that big of a thing. I'll tell you this. My hands are pretty big, okay? Pretty large hands. You could palm pushing here. The 6.8 size was fine for me. I could hold it without a case, even with a case, reach the entire display, entire screen, not have any issues. 6.9 inches now, however, though, gets to be slightly unwieldy. It's a little big. I have trouble reaching to the top for messages. It's a different experience than I'm used to on this device. So we could go ahead and leave that there for a second. So this is it unlocked. Here's the other thing with the larger size. You see this at the bottom here? That's just there. I thought maybe I could sneak another row of icons on there, and you probably could if you got rid of search. Maybe if you know there's a way to do that, let me know. Because I've thought before maybe there wasn't enough room. There's definitely enough room. However, I don't see a way to do it. And without that, it's just an awkward, aesthetically unpleasing little bit there with the search and just a large kind of gap there that just extends the screen and then makes it a little tougher for me to go ahead and up there. And now if you throw a case on this, I imagine that gets even larger. So if you like the Pro Max version, if you like having the larger iPhone, just understand that it might seem like a tenth of an inch. It is a material difference in how you hold your phone, especially if you put a case on your phone. Performance-wise, I can't really talk a whole lot about the phone. Runs fine. Runs exactly like my iPhone 15 Pro Max, which is already overpowered to begin with. I say overpowered, but it's future-proofing. It's AI stuff. So I get it. I appreciate the fact that they put so much power on these devices. But if you're looking for a reason to upgrade year over year, battery life, power, those things are not going to be it. Now, I did have a chance to play with the camera button a bit, and I do agree 100%. Let's go ahead and unlock with people who say that is ridiculous. It is much easier to just go ahead and click there. By the time I click into it and kind of get the exact whatever zoom that I want, I could have just tapped the zoom and taken my photo already. It's not a quick toggle feature. It is a feature for the sake of being a feature. It'll be useful in the future when they have that AI stuff along with it, and maybe that was like a stopgap, like a stall. They're like, look, this is going to be great for the AI camera functionality, but that ain't here yet. So let's go ahead and see if we can't sell people on this Zoom thing. And it makes the phone unsteady. It doesn't help your photos. It takes longer than just going ahead and clicking. I could have taken the entire photo in the time that it took me to mess around with that. So overall, that's not but that's the thing. That's kind of why they would have been left with nothing on this presentation. That would have been your highlight. That's what would have been the major selling point. That's what would have been the hour and a half presentation. Would have been on the camera button, because there's nothing else here. And that's, Apple is really missing I wouldn't call it a singular vision, because I do believe it was a small team of people. But you always had this small design team that was really pushing stuff forward and avoided kind of a lot of this awkwardness that we get now, whether it was Steve Jobs at the top or later Johnny Ive, for better or worse for him, right? There was things with the MacBook that went sideways because of him, because he insisted on the thing being so thin. There is a time when aesthetics can get in the way. But you could tell that Apple now, even with just the presentations, is more of a decision by committee company than it used to be. And that's fine. That's how a bunch of these other companies, that's how Google works, that's how Samsung feels it works, that's how every other manufacturer feels like it operates. However, it leads to goofy things like this. It leads to things like Apple Intelligence not being on the phone. It leads to things like the camera button. It leads to things like those weird aesthetic quirks. It leads to things like not maybe properly analyzing or considering if the phone should have gone to 6.9 inches. Those are the things that fall through the cracks. Those are the mistakes that Google makes. Those are the mistakes that Samsung makes because of the way they operate. Apple never made those mistakes. So far, so good on the software with iOS 18. I was worried about stability. We'll test battery life. We're going to do the comparison to the iPhone 15 Pro Max, not to spoil it, but absolutely do not get rid of your 15 Pro Max. Might be a situation where I got to test the cameras. The camera results I saw were materially different. They were a bit better on the iPhone 16 Pro Max than the 15 Pro Max. So I got to test this out for videos and stuff, because I do use this for YouTube. So that I'll check out with the photos, and we'll go over that. The other thing I guess was good, is Apple finally did away, at least on the Pro Max version, with the 128 version. So now you start at 256 gigs. Long overdue, especially with the support. You want to keep these phones forever. You don't want to be locked into cloud storage. You need storage on these, especially without micro SD card expandable storage. So look, it's a good installment. It's fine. There's nothing glaringly wrong with it. I mean, it's the same design you've been used to for I don't know how many years now. It runs the same as all these other iPhones. But the reason why you'd upgrade, that kind of killer feature that Apple was trying to sell you on right now, is nothing but thin air. So just keep that in mind. I don't think it's full-on vaporware. I think we'll get it. However, it's not here yet. And I don't know how it's going to run when it does get here. If you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Until next time, have that delicious day.